Now, for a hexagon to be created, so a hexagon is obviously a six-sided figure. So let's say that is how your hexagon looks. And similarly, this is how your octagon looks. Now, in case you need to make these in isometric, what you have to keep in mind is both of them need to be converted into a polygon, which is a quadrilateral, and in this case either a rectangle, which is what you will see over here, or a square, as you may choose to see over here. Okay, now if you notice, if I take this as the diagonal, it is not the same as over here. Over here, the distance is obviously shorter than this. Therefore, if this is the length and that is the height, you are ending up with a rectangle over here. But if I look in an octagon, and that too, these are both, let's say, regular. So this is also a regular hexagon and this is also a regular octagon. A regular hexagon will come out from a rectangle. A regular octagon is going to come out of a square. So if I extend these lines and similarly these lines, I should get a square. Only when you have these two or these dimensions given to you can you find it easier to create the shape. Sometimes what they may choose to do is that they will say that the edge length of the hexagon is, let's say, 20 mm. So edge length does not mean that you have to construct the full hexagon to figure out this distance and therefore this distance. What you can choose to do is, if you notice, let's say I have an equilateral triangle, 60 degrees obviously, and this is 20. Now if you take a compass, put the compass to this dimensions or this length as the radius, and you turn the compass around. So let's say you take a compass and you, wow, that doesn't look like a circle. But just to explain to you, let's say we make, okay, I'll make that again. Okay, so let's say you have a circle, you have a center. This is your radius. Now, if you take the same radius and you intersect this circle, you will notice that the circle gets intersected 6 times. Which means if I join those 6 intersecting points, I will end up with a regular hexagon. Which also means that if, let's say, this is 30 degrees, then when I join this to this, technically this should also be 30. Why? Because this is also the radius. Therefore, this is the radius, that is the radius, this is the radius, this is the radius. And when I intersected, these edge lengths are also the same. Which means 6 equilateral triangles are making a hexagon for me. If one of the edge lengths have been given to me, I can choose to say that double of that is going to give me the length of this hexagon. Why? Because 30 plus 30 is giving me 60. Similarly, if 20 has been given to me and I make this and I choose to construct that too, then 20 plus 20 should give me the length of this rectangle. So what I will need to do is, I will again, same as the triangle which we had to construct to figure out the height, here we will have to construct a part of the hexagon to figure out what this height is. So this is easy to figure because obviously it's the diagonal and it's double of the edge length. But to figure this out, what you will have to do is, you will have to construct this. But what you can choose to do is, let's say you have this as your circle, that as your center point. You mark any one starting point. With the same radius, you get one more and you get another one. Now, if you notice, if I join this to this and I join that to that, that is actually this part. The rest is, I mean, I can choose to make it, but I'm making 4 additional lines, which means you don't really have that much time. So don't make them. You just need to make this put the scale here to get this distance, and that is the distance of the height of the rectangle. Once you have those two, then all you need to do is figure out your starting point, figure out where the rectangle is going to set. These two midpoints are obviously going to be this midpoint and that midpoint, and therefore I have made, you make this midpoint over here. You already know that 20 mm is the edge length. So if this is the midpoint, so check this out. This is the midpoint, which means half the edge here and half the edge over here. So if these are the midpoints, half edge here, half edge there, similarly half edge here, half edge here, and you join them like this, and you end up seeing your hexagon. So the hexagon will also look skewed, but to get the exact measurements, all you will need to do is figure this out, and for that you need to know the rectangle. And the same thing will happen for the octagon as well.